Have you ever heard someone say, "You grew up too fast"? It sounds like praise, as if you were capable, tougher than the other kids. But when the door closes, you know it wasn't luck at all. It was a burden. Growing up too soon means you were never allowed to be a child. You were taught too early the things you should not have had to understand. You had to worry for the people who were supposed to worry for you. And you learned to pretend you were fine. At the same time, inside you shook so hard you wanted to disappear. If you have found yourself reading your parents' faces before they spoke, if you have ever padded just so no one would get angry, if you sat there thinking, "I must be good, otherwise everything will break," then you are the child who was hurried into adulthood. You didn't play childhood games. You learned survival tactics. You didn't ask, "What do I want today?" You asked, "What does someone else need from me?" And years later, when you look back, there is a nameless hollow. You have success. You are strong. You are independent. Yet inside lives a tired child who was never permitted simply to be a child. You wear the face of an adult, but your heart still beats to the alert rhythms of long-ago nights. If this is you, stay. This video will not only name the quiet pain you have been carrying, it will open a door to help you understand why you still feel lost even after you've grown up, and why the path to freedom does not start with becoming stronger, but with daring to sit down and look at the child inside you, the child you left behind long ago. This might be the first time you feel truly heard. Have you ever caught yourself tense when nothing dangerous is actually near? A door slamming hard and you hold your breath. A single cold look from a parent, and your chest drops. A strange silence, and your whole body goes on guard. Other children cry and are comforted. You learn early that you cannot. You learn to read the room before you can read a sentence. You learn when to stay quiet, when to smile, when to disappear so the storm won't find you. That is how your childhood was traded for vigilance. The clearest symptom of having grown up too fast is that you become the invisible gatekeeper of household peace. No one elected you for the job. You simply learned to adapt, and that habit followed you into adulthood. You walk into a meeting and your mind is already scanning people's tones. You send a text and worry when the reply is late. You say yes with your mouth while your heart is screaming no. You become an expert at pleasing, and at the same time, a stranger to your own true needs. The pain of growing up too soon is not that you became stronger than your peers. The pain is that you were never allowed to be a child. You never got to fall apart and be held. You were never permitted to be selfish without losing love. And as you age, you carry that absence, childhood fast-forwarded, never to rewind. You see it in small daily things. You throw yourself into work until the night arrives and leaves only hollowness. You give your time and energy to everyone, and still, deep down, you feel abandoned. People tell you you're resilient, but what you wish is to hear one sentence: you don't have to be strong anymore. The truth is, you are not broken. You are running on an old setting, the survival setting, that once saved you but now wears you down. Keep living this way, and your body will tire, your mind will thin out, your soul will drift further from itself. So this is the moment of choice. Will you keep living like a clock wound too tight, ticking faster and faster until the springs snap? Or will you dare to stop, to breathe, and to search for your actual rhythm? Pause and listen. What does your restless body want to say if you let it speak without fixing it? What happens if, for one day, you answer the question, "What do I need?" before answering, "What does someone else want?" These are not small experiments. They are the first honest acts of a life you never got to practice. You learned survival. Now you have to learn presence. You learn to be the room's quiet moderator, Now you must learn to be the keeper of your own heart. The work is simple and savage. To notice the reflex, to name the obedience, to permit yourself to be clumsy, needy, childish even, because only then can repair begin. So ask again, quietly, do you keep the pace because you must, or because nobody ever asked you to slow down? Carl Jung once said, "The inner child never disappears. It only hides in the dark, waiting to be seen." When a child is forced to grow up too quickly, what Jung calls the inner child does not die. It is pushed down into the unconscious, where it continues to live as fear, as hypervigilance, as silent hunger. You grow up, you work, you enter relationships, but the part of you that was never safe still reacts as it once did, always scanning for danger, always sacrificing your own needs, always fearing that if you are fully yourself, you will be abandoned. In Jung's language, this is the shadow. The shadow is not the evil in you. It is the rejected, the buried. When your childhood was stolen, your shadow took the form of a child who was never held. And when you ignore it for too long, it becomes the root of your emptiness, the feeling of, I have done so much, yet I am still not enough. You see it every day. A slight frown from your boss and you panic, just like you once feared your parents' anger. When your friends go silent, you rush to please them instead of asking yourself, what do I actually want? When you love, you cling too tightly, terrified of losing, because inside you is a child who was never promised that love would stay. Jung insisted that no one can truly grow up until they face and reconcile with their shadow, which means you cannot keep ignoring your inner child and expect peace to arrive. The more you bury it beneath work, achievements, or the mask of independence, the lonelier you feel at night. The emptiness you carry is not a defect. It is a cry for help. Try to see it differently. The fact that you had to grow up too fast doesn't prove you were strong. It proves the world around you is not safe enough. So instead of shaming yourself for being weak or too sensitive, Jung would remind you that you are simply living with a shadow that has yet to be touched. Awakening begins the moment you stop calling your emptiness, your loneliness, your vigilance a problem, and start hearing them as the voice of your inner child. That child doesn't need you to be stronger. It needs you to look at it and admit, I was once unsafe, and I deserve safety now. This isn't abstract philosophy. This is the psychology of healing, and it begins the moment you dare to let light shine on the darkness you've tried so hard to cover. Imagine a child who never got the chance to believe the world was safe, forced instead to carry the weight of keeping a family balanced. In psychology, this is called parentification, when a child is turned into an adult too soon. At an unconscious level, this activates a survival mode that never quite turns off. Your brain becomes hypervigilant, scanning the environment for signs of danger, reacting before anything even happens. The child learns to read faces, to hold their breath in silence, and to adjust their behavior in advance. This mechanism kept you alive, but it also stole your childhood. And as you grew older, the loop did not end. You are no longer in that house, but your body still reacts as if you were. Your boss frowns, and your chest tightens. A partner replies late, and you assume you've done something wrong. Friends go quiet, and you fill the gap with forced pleasing. This is not a weakness. This is your nervous system still running on survival code. You were once the little adult in your family, and now you've become the exhausted adult in society. The real problem isn't only burnout. The problem is you never learned how to live outside of vigilance. Your unconscious still clings to the belief, if I relax, everything will fall apart. That belief keeps you stuck in a repeating circle. The harder you try to be strong, the more drained you become. The more you hide your needs, the emptier you feel. Jung called this the shadow zone. It's where the parts you never dared to touch remain hidden. The fear of abandonment, the longing to be loved without effort, the anger at having your childhood taken. You can cover the surface with work, with success, with polite relationships. But deep down, the shadow zone is still waiting. Ask yourself, have you ever felt too old for your age? Have you ever heard people call you strong, but inside you knew it was just another word for lonely? Have you ever felt that you were never allowed to collapse? If your answer is yes, then this unconscious mechanism is still running you every day, every hour. But here lies the turning point. The same unconscious you thought imprisoned you is also the key to freedom. When you recognize the loop, you can interrupt it. When you face the shadow, it loses its power. Like a clock wound too tight, it can stop, be reset, and begin to tick in rhythm again. And if you stay until the end, you'll see what most people never realize. The child inside you never vanished. It has always been there, not to pull you backward, but to remind you it is time to finally live a life that belongs to you. Imagine a small watch resting in your hand. It was meant to move in the gentle rhythm of childhood. Each tick a soft beat, each moment light and unburdened. But one day, someone twisted the hands too hard, forcing them to run twice as fast. On the outside, the watch still worked, still ticked, and even appeared more mature than the others. But inside, the gears began to wear, the axle stretched thin, and hairline cracks formed where no eye could see. That is you, the child who was forced to grow too fast. You learned to smile when you wanted to cry, to carry responsibilities before you were ready, to read others' moods instead of asking yourself what you wanted. On the outside, you were the old soul, the obedient student, the good son or daughter. But inside, the gears of your spirit were grinding, pushed beyond their limit. No one heard the faint strain. No one noticed the hand slipping slightly off. Only you knew that every rotation carried a hidden ache. And then you grew up, but the watch kept running. You began to notice that your time felt different from others. While they enjoyed the present, you worried about the future. While they could let go, you clenched your chest tight. While they found happiness in small moments, you only heard a dry tick reminding you to keep running so you wouldn't shatter. A watch wound too fast can still run for many years, but gradually the errors build up. It no longer drifts by seconds, but by minutes, even hours. Just like you. The harder you tried to be strong, the further you drifted from your true self. You achieved, but felt no joy. You stayed busy, but felt empty. You showed up in relationships, yet felt utterly alone. This metaphor isn't here to tell you that you are broken. It is here to remind you that if the watch is taken apart, cleaned, and reset, it can run true again, and so can you. If you dare to face the cracks within, you can rediscover your real rhythm. You don't need to run fast to prove your worth. You only need to move at the pace that is truly yours. And maybe, for the first time, you'll hear the ticking not as a frantic, painful beat, but as a soft murmur, reminding you that your childhood was never fully lost. It was only forced into fast forward. And now, you have the chance to learn how to set the hands back in place. Try being honest with yourself. Do you ever walk into a room and immediately scan every face as if searching for danger? Do you rehearse conversations in your head just to make sure you won't disappoint anyone? If so, you are still living with the residue of having grown up too fast. Your body still reacts as if childhood never ended. In relationships, you become the one who carries the weight. Your partner sees you taking care of everything in advance, but rarely asks if you're happy. Your friends see you as the strong one, the dependable one. But how often do you allow yourself to lean on anyone? You've learned to put the needs of others so far above your own that sometimes you can't even tell what you truly want. And the price? You laugh a lot, but at night you feel only emptiness. You succeed, but each achievement quickly turns hollow. You show up at gatherings, but inside you feel like you're standing outside the circle. You think you've grown up, but really, you're just continuing to live in a state of vigilance. Face it, if you never stop, you will spend your life as a guard who never lowers their weapon. You will master the art of keeping others safe, but you will never know the feeling of being safe in someone's arms. And the child within you will keep knocking, reminding you it was never seen. You are not weak. You are not broken. You are simply using an old survival code to live in a new reality. But that code no longer fits. And until you admit this, you will remain tied to the loop of emptiness. The final question is this: how much longer will you hold yourself rigid before you dare to let go and allow that child to breathe? It is time to start calling things by their true names. You are not too sensitive. You were a child who had to keep your ears tuned to the slightest shift in the air because your safety depended on it. You are not too controlling. You were a child who believed that if you didn't anticipate everything, the whole world might collapse. And you are not too exhausted because you are weak. You are tired because you have lived your whole life on alert. When you change the language, you change the power. Instead of saying, "I am always anxious," try saying, "I learned to be vigilant very early." When you tie anxiety to memory rather than to your essence, you start to see you are not broken. You are carrying an old habit, and habits can change. Carl Jung reminded us that a person is not defined by what happened to them, but by how they choose to integrate it. The child you once were is not a burden. It is data, a piece of information about who you are. It has not come to block you, but to give you the chance to rewrite the story. Imagine this. Instead of running from the emptiness, you sit beside it. Instead of scolding yourself for always being tense, you place a hand on your heart and admit, "I once needed this to survive." That is reframing. It doesn't erase the past. It changes the meaning of the past. And when the meaning shifts, the weight shifts too. A new language isn't just words. It is an inner declaration. You can try saying, "I am not a broken clock. I only need my rhythm reset. I do not always need to be strong. I deserve to be safe. I did not lose my childhood. I can learn to return it to myself now." These are not empty affirmations. They are psychological maps, helping you cross from survival into presence. Each time you choose a new language, you reclaim a piece of yourself from the shadow. But be careful. This is not a path everyone is ready to walk. Many choose to live in the loop forever because facing their inner child feels scarier than exhaustion itself. But if you are brave enough, you will discover what most people never do. Your inner child is not here to ruin your present. It is here to show you the way out of your past. And this whisper may be the first moment you feel released from the old language that has held you captive for so long. If theory ended here, it would only be a sad reminder. But what you need are small steps to bring the inner child into the light. Nothing dramatic, just 3 simple actions. First, give yourself 5 minutes each day to listen to your body. When your heart races, when your shoulders tighten, ask, "What am I afraid of right now?" Don't rush to fix it. Just listen. That is how you give the child inside you the sense of being seen. Second, Write down one memory you remember most clearly about having to grow up too fast. Maybe it was when you comforted someone else, or when you swallowed your feelings. Write it not to blame, but to affirm. This happened. And is survived. Putting it into words turns a vague fog into a truth you can face. Third, try saying a single sentence to yourself. Right now, I am safe. It sounds small, but it is a signal to your nervous system that the old loop no longer runs the present. Each time you repeat it, you loosen the overwound spring of the clock within. These 3 steps won't change everything overnight, but they open the path. And sometimes, one crack of light is enough for the darkness to begin to fade. If you continue to ignore the child within, the cost will only grow heavier. You will live your life like a clock that runs off time, always busy, always on schedule with duties, yet never truly present in your own existence. You may achieve much, but it will slip through your hands like sand through open fingers. You may form relationships, but deep down, you will still feel alone. And one day, your body will speak for you. Anxiety, exhaustion, sleepless nights. None of it is random. It is your nervous system crying out. But if you stop and dare to face it, the outcome will be completely different. You will begin to see that safety is not found in controlling everything, but in allowing yourself to be present. You will realize that happiness doesn't come from pleasing others, but from the courage to say, "This is what I need." And most importantly, you will understand. True adulthood is not about growing up fast, but about learning to walk at your own pace. Carl Jung once emphasized, light does not come by pretending it exists, but by making the darkness conscious. That means facing painful memories doesn't make you weak. It transforms you from a victim into a key holder. When you look directly at the shadow, it ceases to be a chain. It becomes a map. You cannot reclaim the childhood that was lost, but you can return to yourself the presence you never had. Each time you sit quietly and whisper, "Right now I am safe," you are resetting the clock to its true rhythm, and each tick that follows is no longer an alarm, but the breath of freedom. You have 2 choices: keep living like a watchman who never lays down his arms, or dare to set them aside and become a whole human being. The choice is in your hand, right here, right now. Perhaps you've lived too long as a watchman, eyes wide, scanning every movement to keep everything safe. But ask yourself, if today you allowed yourself to lay down your weapons, what terrible thing would truly happen? Or maybe you would discover that the world does not collapse. Only the walls within you begin to fall away. The clock inside you was wound too fast, but it was never broken. It has only been waiting for the moment you are gentle enough to set its hands back in place. And that hand does not belong to anyone else. It belongs to you. Each time you pause and whisper, "Right now I am safe," you return time to its rightful rhythm. This video cannot give you back the childhood that was lost, but it can give you a reminder. Freedom has never disappeared. It is only waiting for you to step through the door you once avoided. If you see yourself in these words, keep this video as a mirror to guide you home. And when you are ready to go deeper, perhaps the next part of the journey will find you at the right time, in the right place.